Hello, welcome. Today we're going to be covering Chapter 1 of Introduction to Logic. I will be covering Section 1.1 and 1.2 in two different lectures. So before I begin this week, I want to go over what the learning objectives are. And there are three. The first one is to identify the parts of arguments. Second one is to recognize the difference between arguments and non-arguments. And the third one is to explain why arguments are important. So let me begin with the last one. In this course, we're studying logic. And logic is the study of arguments. So that is the connection between logic and arguments. Now, why are arguments important? Arguments are connected to quite essential concepts such as reason, what is reasonable, evidence, justification, truth, and knowledge. Okay? These are very important concepts, and arguments have everything to do with them. And let me explain how and why. So, we know that truth is important. Without truth, you cannot have a good argument. All premises have to be truth. In fact, the whole point of an argument is to demonstrate that something is true, right? You are trying in an argument to prove the truth of the conclusion. That is the purpose of the argument. So what we do in logic is that we try to systematically analyze arguments, and we try to demonstrate which arguments, how many different kinds of arguments there are, and which ones are good and which ones are bad, and why they are good and why they are bad. So that is what logic does, and you see why it's important. Now, truth is important, but it's not just truth, right? Truth, there's a difference between guessing and knowing that something is true. And that's where arguments come in. That's what arguments do. They provide evidence. They provide justification for the truth of something. They demonstrate that something is true. And that's why arguments are so important. So if you can develop good arguments, then you can demonstrate to others through reason and justification and evidence, objective evidence, that something is the case and that they too should believe that it is the case. That is the whole purpose of arguments. So let me talk about the parts of arguments. This is very simple. It has three parts. The first thing is arguments are all constituted of statements. There's a difference between a sentence and a statement. A sentence is any grammatically correct English set of words that convey and communicate an idea, right? So, for instance, a question can be a statement. A command can be a sentence. A question can be a sentence. A command can be a sentence, but they are not statements. What is the difference then? A statement is not just a grammatically correct set of words that convey an idea. A statement also has something we call truth value. What does that mean? It means that all statements are either true or false. They have a truth value. So when I talk about statements, I'm talking about claims. I'm making a claim. Today is Monday. The sun is out. It's raining. These are claims. I'm saying something about the way the world is, okay? And therefore, my claim, my statement can be true or false. Now notice something. Just because you don't know that something is true or false does not mean that it's not a statement. It's still a statement, and therefore it still has truth value. Our inability to know what the truth value is doesn't take away the essence of being a statement, that is that it has a truth value. And so that's very important, because a lot of times people think that just because something cannot be known, it's neither true or false. That's not correct. Your ability to know that something is true or false is different than something being true or false. Okay. Now, in addition to statements, there are two parts to the argument. We have premises, and then we have a conclusion. And this is rather simple. The premises are the statements that support the truth of the conclusion. The conclusion is the statement that I'm trying to defend, to support, or to demonstrate, or to show to someone else that it is true and they also should believe it to be true. So the conclusion is usually the most controversial of the statements. The book gives you some indicators like therefore, accordingly. There are certain words that introduce conclusions, and so that might be a way of identifying the conclusion of an argument. And then there are also words that introduce premises, and that might be a way of knowing which one of the statements are premises. Remember, you can have one or more premises, but you can only have one conclusion in an argument. I just want to end this section with one point. Remember, it's not just that there's, if I have a statement 1, statement 2, and statement 3, it's not just 3 statements that are not connected. There has to be some connection, and we refer to that connection inference, right? There has to be a logical, a rational, something in the mind that says, if this is true, then this is true. There's a supporting evidence. If, John's fingerprints are on the gun, if someone saw John at the crime scene, then those 2 claims are connected in a way to the claim that John committed the murder. You see the connection? These 2 provide evidence for that. We have an argument. We have 1 statement, 2 statements. John committed the murder. That's the controversial statement. That's the one that I'm trying to prove. And I'm using other statements to demonstrate and to support and to defend that claim. Okay? Thank you very much.